With all the big calls on all the big races, who's got that weekend feeling? Oh yes indeed, the festival draws nearer, but there is some marvellous action coming your way, both domestically and of course in Ireland as well this weekend. Myself, Dave Orton, a time for another What a Shout, the Racing Post flagship feature weekend show filmed somewhere in the capital on a Friday morning. Welcome along. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Anything on Facebook, get your questions in for the panellists. They read it all weekend long. Selections and apps, let's hear it. And Twitter, hashtag What a Shout. Brought to you, of course, with our sponsors, Bet365. Now, if you've never heard the one about the Englishman, the Irishman, the Welshman and a bookie from Stoke, let me tell you, the tale is rawsome. And here you are, Pat. Great to have you with us.
Yeah, looking forward to a terrific Saturday's card. Something for everyone, really. And I'm a big fan of the Eider Chase. Normally on heavy ground, isn't it? But it's only good to soft this time around. So
two big handicaps. You get the feeling that they're the pivotal ones for the punters to aim at. We've got some shorties in the novices, which we'll be previewing for you later on.
Yeah, and of course the Coral Chase at Kempton's had plenty of different names over the years. Those of old timers would know it as the Racing Post Chase, but it's not a good race for favourites. Last winning favourite, 2008, Gungadoo, Ruby Walsh for Paul Nicholls.
OK, could that be bulked in that trend this year? Let's find out. We've got a great show coming up for you. Now, for myself and Pat, we've got a great guest. We've also got some seriously heavy hitters on the line as well, some newbies for you as well. John Harding joins us as well, one of our roving reporters out there and senior writers as well. John, good to have you. This has been coming, hasn't it, this build-up debut appearance?
It's been coming, yeah. There's been rumours, a bit of back and forth, but excited, very excited to make my debut.
Great stuff. Yeah, obviously, some hot topics this weekend. One sizzling topic. You're going to be giving us the insight on that. But you don't mind a bet here and there as well. You're going to get your tipping cap on.
I'll get my tipping cap on. I've been studying it last night. I'm at Kempton on Saturday, at Fontwell on Sunday, so it was good revision for me anyway.
National Spirit time, of course, at Fontwell, isn't it? All right, shall we go over to Ireland then? Another debutant. Irish editor Richie Forristal joins us. Morning, Richie.
How are you, Dave? You must have had a lot of refusals this week, Dave, if you've so many debutants.
I tell you what, this has been coming. We like to showcase the talent here at the Racing Post. Richie, this has been coming though, hasn't it? I mean, lots of people have seen you know, especially in lockdown. We got used to that background there. It feels like I'm on Luck on Sunday or something all of a sudden.
Yeah, as you can see, it's not the tidiest office in the world, but it's a busy office, so someday I'll tidy it up.
It's a busy time, of course, Richie. Festival dawning, handicap entries out. Everyone's expecting it to be complete domination again. Did you go to Mullins Yard this week as well?
No, I didn't get up there on Wednesday morning. We had David Jennings and Brian Sheeran up there, so they were able to handle everything up there. It's always great to see the place in operation. It's an incredible outfit. You see the amount of horses he has there, and the way he does the job is remarkable. You know, he tends to arrive on out and decide on spec what he's doing. He doesn't seem to work to a rota. So I didn't go there. It would have been nice to get in there again, but you know, lots to look forward to. I know everyone. It's been the main talking point recently, hasn't it? The Irish English, the Irish British angle. But there's a lot of good British horses there on the first day, especially, and you just don't know how a festival is going to go. It'll be great to get it underway in a few weeks' time now. Yeah,
there's some good reports about the ground, Richie, as well, coming from our side, wasn't it? Clark of the course, basically saying it looks like, you know, if the forecast's right, it's going to be good to soft. That will suit everyone, of course. One thing that we saw coming out of the Mullins Yard, it looks like maybe Gallopin might take on Bob after all.
Yeah. You never, you're never kind of happy to accept any of it until you see the declarations, especially with Willie, because he's renowned for changing his mind. As I said a minute ago, he does things on spec and on impulse. You know, he makes a decision about how he feels. But I suppose the theory is that Bob Ollinger's jumping maybe isn't as sharp as Gallopin des Champs, and there's a suggestion, maybe not necessarily from Willie, but there's a suggestion that Gallopin des Champs jumping is so fluent and he's got so much scope that he might be able to put a bit of pressure on Gallopin des Champs may be able to put a bit of pressure on Bob Ollinger and get my names in a muddle. I'm thinking about Brave Man's Game and so on. Like, he is a horse who you'd wonder, did he have more scope to improve for fences than Bob Ollinger? That's possible. So it's going to be fascinating. You know, they're all very good staying chasing prospects, but obviously the Bob Ollinger Gallopin des Champs clash is one that we'd all relish.
Absolutely. It looks like that novice chase division is sizzling hot, doesn't it? It's not often that the Arkle is one of the lesser races of the week. Now, one man that's not shy of riding a great horse or two or training them, and he's got some massive runners for us at Kempton and in the big race at Newcastle as well. Let's go to Wales then. Christian Williams joins us back on the show. Chris, great to have you on.
Thank you. Morning all.
Let's just, before we concentrate on your runners this weekend, Christian, let's go back onto something that Richie was saying there. Brave Man's Game was mentioned, of course. Your old boss, Paul Nicholls, he raised some eyebrows, didn't he, this time last year, before the festival, before Brave Man's Game had jumped a fence in public, by comparing him to Denman. You know all about Denman. How impressed with him have you been this season? Can he topple the Irish in whatever race he goes to?
Yeah, he looks a good horse, doesn't he? He's got a good relaxed way about the way he gallops and jumps. And yeah, no, he looks good, and hopefully he can be obviously a winner for this side of the sea.
Do you think that there is something in that he has just gone a stone better for a fence? I mean, is it that simple, Christian?
Yeah, horses do. It's a big talking point this week, but with these novice, these hurdlers who go chasing off the back of 3 runs, and I run a grey horse at Ludlow, and he's a 6-year-old. We've had him 4 years, educated him since a 2-year-old. He's got a good cross-country pedigree. So you haven't got much choice but to go hurdling to start with, and they're not good enough to win off level weight. You're ultimately going hurdling, getting a handicap mark, and then going chasing them as soon as you can because of his pedigree and the makeup of the horse. He's bred to jump fences.
All right, okay. Well, and something while you were listening there, you hear about the Irish domination. Loads have been said about that. We know what the score was. I'm not going to rub our noses in that again, of course, over this side of the fence this morning. But it's something that you're seriously not bothering with this year, Christian, is it? I mean, you've looked at the Coral Trophy at Kempton, the old race post chase, as Pat said, prestigious race its own right, worth a lot of money. And of course, the Eider as well at Newcastle. These are all horses. You've got 5 running this weekend that could have maybe looked towards the festival.
Yeah, we'd have to restructure a little bit when we get a higher number of horses. But we've done quite well working around the festival before, and just to make up for the festival last year in the handicap. It obviously looked like there was no point in us really turning up in the handicaps with our horses. I'm not sure why that was, whether marks we were given in this country, or there was great prize money, more prize money at Kempton on Saturday than in all the handicaps at Cheltenham. And when we won the Midlands National with Potter's Corner 2 or 3 years ago, it was exactly the same then. There was more prize money on offer at Newcastle than there was at Cheltenham. So just work around it at the moment.
There's a news line in there, isn't it? All right, let's stick with you then, Christian. You're mentioning the Coral Trophy, then worth a lot of money, 337 at Kempton. You've just got the 3 runners then. 5-Star Getaway, who cruised through Sandown last time, maybe found the hill a bit much, did he? He looked like he might be the buzzer, but I think we're going to find, once we've spoken to you at the end of this, that the other 2 are coming right in for reckoning as well. Shall we start with him, 5-Star Getaway?
Yeah, he obviously looked a progressive horse the last 2 years, and just slightly disappointing in the Sandown that he came there cantering off the bend and didn't quite pick them up, but maybe it just looked like he didn't quite stay maybe up the hill, and perhaps the ground was a little bit dead and soft, and perhaps those getaways just need a little bit, need things in their favour a little bit to see the best of them. Maybe a flat track and nicer ground will hopefully suit him better.
He's been the one for money, hasn't he? That's for sure. But you look at Captain Nor's form. Everyone is waiting for Captain Nor to bounce back, Christian, on the back of that second to Royal Pagaille. Not this Christmas, the one before that. What's been the issues with him then?
I think he finished 5th in the Whitbread not too long ago, and he got beat 5 lengths. Looked like he's coming back to himself at Doncaster there on messy ground. Just made it. He clipped the horse's heel jumping the last of the circuit to go, wouldn't have helped, and then he made a mistake then at the cross fence, probably the wrong time when they started the race. But we just think he's just coming healthy at the right time, and we look for a good. I think he'll run well. He's run well around the track 2 or 3 times before off higher mark, and we never thought he'd get in a big race now of 127, but as we're going to get him qualified there to go to the Haydock for the day and chase final. Good prize money on offer, but it looked like this race would cut up a little bit and he'd get in the handicap. So we took a chance and missed Carlisle on Monday, and it obviously worked in our favour.
If anyone actually believes that this is a plan B out there, you're right. I think I think he's having us away there. Let's go to our favourite horse here in the studio then, Christian. You know that we love Kitty's Light. Oh, my Lord. Memories of the Bet365 Gold Cup last year, Pat. And the moral winner of that, wasn't he? Started off the season so well, went really close. I think off this mark, Christian, wasn't it? We'll come to you in a sec. And then, of course, we all saw what happened in the Charlie Hall. You know, maybe a flattered third, but it proved him, the horse going forward. Wheels come off slightly. Something senses with a certain jockey booking. This might just be the day.
Yeah, I remember being at Sandown for Kitty's Light, unfortunate defeat. And at the ultimate insult, the poor horse went up £4, even though it was the moral winner of the race. He was a nose away from being awarded it and went up £4. But I'm still a believer. He's still a young horse, isn't he? And I was keen to ask Christian about the jockey booking, because you tend to think Eider Chase Day, Newcastle, Brian Hughes will be up north. But guess what? He's riding for Donald McCain down at Kempton. He's got 2 good-looking rides for Donald. And but he was booked up early on in the week, Brian Hughes, for Kitty's Light. I was wondering the thought process behind that from Christian.
Yeah, obviously, my greatest pleasure would be seeing Jack or Nick obviously ride the winner of the race. They're associated to the yard, but I just had to sway Jack towards Captain Order. Captain Order, he seems in good form. We think 3 mile round Kempton will be a little bit sharp for Kitty's Life, but come into great form the last 10 days. And I spoke to Richard Hale on Sunday to see where Brian was, thinking he could ride one for us in the Eider Chase. And it worked out. He said he'd be a Kempton. And then I see Nicky Richards' horse entered, so I thought he might be coming down for that. But then when the Nicky Richards horse wasn't was not going to run, we took Brian then at the start of the week just to be sure of a good jockey booking, because I knew we'd be looking for one.
The thing is about Kitty's Light, Christian, we all know how he runs. He's a freak, isn't he? Because you had him winning chases as a 4-year-old, over marathon trips and things like that. He hits a flat spot in his races, doesn't he? Where do you want him to be turning in? You're not going to say in front, because he probably won't have the pace, will he? He needs to be 5 lengths off him, doesn't he? If he is, get involved in running. It's the charge home for the Kitties, isn't it?
Yeah. When we bought him, we obviously, the package we were given was a small horse with a flat pedigree, so we just like to ride him quietly in his races. We don't like him to be in the hustle and bustle and getting knocked about. He's only small. He's got his own way of jumping fences, but his jumping's come good now. So last year he always knew where the winning line was. He never looked like winning races until on the winning line. He usually get his head in front on the winning line. So he'd be ridden quietly, but he'd be our best workhorse at home, and started to show a little bit now in the last fortnight that he'll be back on track.
You wouldn't play poker, Christian, would you? This is great. Let's go up to Newcastle then for the Eider. It's the 4 mile, and now Richie Forristal will be listening intently on this, because I know he's got a nap in the race for us a little bit later on. But you've got 2, and probably the yard favourite, is it Potter's Corner? Let's start with him. The only distance winner in the race.
Yeah, he actually fell at the third last a few years ago, 3 weeks before he won the Midlands National, so got a little bit of unfinished business there. But, it's great to have that horse now in the yard, be given a life ballast. Potter's Corner brought Jack Tudor forward in his career, and hopefully the horse can do, similar for Ellis Collier now, works hard in the yard, turns up every morning, 6 o'clock, feeds all the horses, and he deserves to ride that horse in this race.
And I guess a more progressive, slightly more unexposed type is Win My Wings. Cheltenham winner last year, comes to Exeter, preps with a 1 next to her name. Cheap pieces go on.
Yeah, she just lacks a small bit of scope. She was only, I think we give 9 or 10 grand for her. She's not sold in the sale. She's not overly big. So just hoping that cheap pieces could just keep her in the race early on. And like all of ours, then if she's a chance going out on the last circuit, she'll be doing the best work at the end. But the cheap pieces are just to help her over the first 3 or 4 fences, really.
Saving them for the big race. And all right, Christian, it'd been great to talk to you. You've got the 5 runners. You'll be watching from a box in Kempton, probably with one eye open by that point. You've got the rugger coming up as well, man. But who's the buzzer for our viewers out there today?
Kitty's Light, I'd say. Kitty's Light on what he shows.
I love it. Kitty's to light them up. Come on.
He looks the value at the prices as well. It's probably too big a price.
Yeah, all right, with Brian Hughes on, watch for some of our leading tipsters maybe giving him up. We'll see what Richie Forristal thinks about it because we're doing our own preview a little bit later on the show. Christian, it's been great to have you back on. You're one of the characters of the game, friend of the show. All the best tomorrow and for the rest of the season ahead, man.
Thank you.
First of the big race previews for you then this weekend on What a Shout. And I'll tell you what, despite the fact that, we're getting closer and closer to Cheltenham, aren't we? And people think, well, the best horses now, powder dry and all that sort of stuff. This is a weekend that can have an impact still, especially the Adonis is that sort of race. It's 150. The juveniles come out to play. Then we've got one horse at the top of the market, Pat, that might well have a ripple. We'll get to him in a second. We've got some interesting newcomers as well. Yeah. Tritonic, 12 months ago, I was convinced that this was a horse that would have a big say in the triumph. It's still a painful memory.
Yes.
Cape Gentleman came over and won the Dovecote, which we're going to preview after this. It's a bit surprising that no Irish horses come to try and really plunder this seriously, but all about Night Salute.
Night Salute, yes, 4 runs, 4 wins. We sponsored a race at Doncaster that he won last time out, and it was a hard-fought finish. He beat Porticello, who was a very talented horse in his own right. Maybe Gary Moore's horse wants softer ground, but it was a meritorious performance from Night Salute. And bizarrely, I was thinking at the time, looking at the card, I thought he's not a very sexy horse. Every race he has seems to be hard work. And then I read in the Racing Post today, he worked sexily a couple of days ago from the trainer. So
that's twice you've said that. I mean, it's first thing in the morning on a Friday, Pat. Come on, man.
It's a bit early.
Maybe one for the 9 o'clock watershed moment there. But he is a talented horse. The form is there in the form book. He does have that penalty, though. He's got the £5 penalty. Makes life harder for him. But a worthy favourite. He's 12-1 non-runner no bet for the Triumph Hurdle. I suppose he could win this and go there 5 out of 5, looking good. But
any money for the Nichols newcomer?
Well, there's Pleasant Man is a very interesting horse, and of course he ex-Roger Charlton. He cost 175,000 guineas at the sales. He is a very interesting horse. Paul Nicholls won this with Solo on his English debut 2 years ago. I think if you're going to be a Pleasant Man backer, there's an angle here. He's 20-1 non-runner no bet for the Triumph Hurdle. Now, if he disappoints, he's not going to run, so you're going to get your money back. He'd only go for the Triumph Hurdle if he won or ran ever so well, and he might start a bit shorter. So if you're looking at an angle, then maybe you could say, well, Pleasant Man, it's his hurdling debut, not sure. What if he won? He'd be maybe a 10-12-1 chance for the Triumph.
The only trainer that's done this in the last 15 years from memory is Nichols, isn't it? Zarkando and Zubair.
Yeah, that's right.
So they both came from France. Whether he's going to find this a bit sharp, let's go to Richie, because you think the favourite can be taken on with one who's already seen by.
Yeah, look, juveniles would not be my favourite discipline, to be quite honest, but I had a good look at this race, and Night Salute is obviously a fabulous animal. Keeps grinding it out, getting the job done. Pleasant Man is interesting because he would be the pick of these on the flat, no doubt. He won off 93 at York. He'd hand a bit of cut, and he's with the right man, albeit Paul Nicholls' horses aren't flying. The one thing interesting about him, actually, he's by Galileo, and Paul Nicholls trained the best Galileo jumper we've seen in Celestial Halo. His jumpers haven't tended to excel like they do on the flat over jumps. So that's an interesting angle. I thought that Paul Nicholls has done well with a Galileo before. The one I landed on was Impulsive One, simply because he had a wind operation. I know he's been beaten twice by Night Salute before, but he had a wind operation. His first run back from that was at Doncaster, and he ran really well. I think he got to win in a length. And then he ran on the flat in the meantime, and he went up to Musselburgh, and I thought he absolutely dotted up. Now, maybe it just took a little while for him to get his confidence after the wind up, and you're just looking at the prices. He's 13-2. The 2 times he's been beaten by Night Salute, he hasn't been far away. And if he can improve on the run at Doncaster as a result of the wind up and being a bit sharper, maybe, I thought at 13-2 he represented a little bit of value. But juveniles, as a rule, I tend to give a wide berth to.
Well, you do work in the Irish office, so we'll allow you that one. Absolutely. So, John, take it away. You've heard what the guys have got to say. Milton Harris has said that Night Salute is a workmanlike horse, but has been working a sexy piece of work on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I find it quite hard to see him being beaten in this. I have to say, I think he might just be the fly, potentially. Our colleague, G-Rod, Rodway, he was all over Night Salute when everyone was looking elsewhere. The price has come in. He saw Vauban at Christmas. He's jumped off it now. So a great time to be getting on it, I guess.
Yeah, great time. And as somebody who phones a lot of trainers and goes through a lot of preview quotes, when a trainer says the work was sexy, you do sort of take notice. I think I'm with you in the sense that I think he's got the form. He's arriving after those wins in succession. And what Porticello went and did, admittedly on soft ground, I know it's you can say it's the ground, it's this, that and the other, but 20 lengths, I think it was 20 lengths is 20 lengths, wherever it is. So I think he's certainly the one to beat. I'm curious about Pleasant Man, because as you say, he's with the right man, and if Nichols starts targeting these races, he'll have had this in mind probably many, many months, if not years ago, knowing him.
And Max McNeil, of course, who won the race last year with Try Timing. All right then, that is the 150. It's a bit of a puzzle. Could Richie be on one at a price? 225 is the Pendle Novices Chase. We'll see some racy 2 mile 4 horses potentially putting themselves in for the Cheltenham. Maybe they'll wait for entry, maybe they'll wait for air. That's been a very positive move by Paul Nicholls, who's won 6 of the last 10, including in Pictori's colours for Johnny Delahaye last year and some others down the line as well. Do you think this guy is the real deal? I mean, at the weights, he ought to be nearly favourite, shouldn't he?
Well, he should near enough be favourite. He's just narrowly second in at the moment, but that can change. On official ratings, he's £7 clear of Manila Drama, his market rival. If you're a Pictori backer, you've got to draw a line through his disappointing run at Sandown last time out when Lompress won very, very easily. He was beaten a long, long way that day, and you can conceivably say, hang on a minute, if he hadn't have run at Sandown, he would definitely be favourite for this. But he did, and he was well beaten. OK, Paul Nicholls, that was 21 days ago. That was at the start, pretty much, of the horses beginning to dip. It's not going to last forever. They are going to bounce back. But you do look at the race, don't you? There's only 5 runners. And if you had a box for a 6th box, which none of the above, I might be ticking none of the above, really, because some of them have a bit to prove. Manila Drama has a bit to prove. Miller's Bank I like, but he's got 2 U's by his name, so he's unseated in his last 2 runs. Go a Little has enough to do. I ended up thinking the mare, Fantastic Lady, Nikki Henderson, she's jumped well. She's won her last 2 races well. On official rating, she's £17 behind Pictori. That's not normally my style at all, but Nikki's rolling the dice with her, and I thought, well, I know she jumps, I know she's improving. She just seems a safer option to me around about her 4-1, but I do recognise she has a bit to find.
Annoyingly, I'm agreeing with Cooney. I thought that she might be able to get the weight from Manila Drama. I don't like Pictori at all. I think he's flattered by that Ascot form. I know that Nichols wasn't firing, as Pat said, at Sandown, but I don't know. I think this is a proper throw of the dice on Paul. I think if he had kept him fresh for this, I agree with Pat entirely on this. What about you, John?
Well, sorry to make it 3, but I think Fantastic Lady as well. Considering the question marks around some of the others, you're looking at Progressive Mare, getting a weight allowance. That's probably at the prices. She's the one for me. Manila Drama, you can't discount Hughes and McCain anywhere at the moment. And he's another one who's going the right way, Grade 2 winner. So it's one of those where it's so wide open that you're looking for one that's going the right way and perhaps has that bit of improvement they can find, and with the allowance as well in particular, I think she must have a good chance.
So that's 3 for the Hendo mare. Let's go to Ireland because Richie's seeing the ball bigger here. Brian Hughes going to Kempton.
Yeah, interesting. Miller's Bank is interesting. He was placed in an entry hurdle last year behind Abacadabra, so he has a lot of ability, albeit he seems to have developed jumping problems more recently. He was going to win at Newbury when he unseated, and obviously behind the good horse, the Lompress, the last day. Pictori's run was only 3 weeks ago. That's concerning. I would prefer to have seen him have a longer break after that, because he just, he stopped very quickly. It was there was alarm bells there. Paul Nicholls is unbelievably good at his job. If he brings him back so quickly to win this, fair play to him. But yeah, I came down on Manila Drama. I thought his run in the Henry VIII was a good run, over 2 miles behind Edward Stone. Warlord was second, Third Time Lucky was third, and 2 miles I don't think would be the optimum trip for Manila Drama. His best run was arguably at Aintree last year when he was second to My Drogo, over 2.5. So he stepped up in trip at Haydock, and I thought he won going away. This is a poor edition of this race, and I think he'll probably be good enough.
Ooh, a poor edition. Absolutely. This is another one that the Irish might come over for, isn't it? I think we all summed it up quite nicely. 3 for the mare, 1 for Brian Hughes. Shall we have one more at Kempton then? OK, 3 o'clock. And this has been all about the Fav this week. Gary Moore, we had him on the show last week. We spoke to him. This is a horse that won his bumper on this track, and they thought he was going to be the next Goshen in the same colours. Yes. He was, of course, part of that famous treble that the Moore family had at Sandown at the beginning of the month. it's all been about settling with him, and they let him have his head that day. They smashed him, didn't they? And you've been smashed off the board so far, haven't you?
Yeah, well, with Shall We Have One More in this race, when you get the entries at the start of the week, you think, well, he'll run. I know he's good. And when you price these races up at the 5-day stage, you are pretty much playing guess the runner. So we wanted to be with him. We ended up copping money for him around about 5-2. I think he had been bigger. He's a very popular horse. He's now 11-10. He's got a real high reputation, this horse, and he did win very easy last time out. You could put in brackets, but he should have won anyway that day. But nevertheless, visually, he did win by a long, long way. The bumper win looks good, but it's the 2 defeats in between those 2 wins that maybe give the layers some degree of hope. He pulls hard, he doesn't settle. You know, he does a lot wrong in those 2 races, and although he ran with credit in them, nevertheless, he did get beat. I get the fact he could well be the best horse in this race, and he's certainly the horse that's probably going to have a real good future. I just think I've more reasons to be against him. And prices dictate opinions, of course. Around about 11-10, I don't mind having the other 7. And,
I think he'll drift a bit, Pat.
Yeah, And my eye's
out.
drawn to the top one, Orton Risk, who is Chris Gordon, Gary Moore's near neighbour, and he's got form on sharp tracks. He's a win at Wincanton, win at Plumpton. Ordinarily, I wouldn't be thinking, oh, well, I can imagine backing this at Kempton. But he did it in good style, and he's a bit to do on the official ratings, but he's a horse that I think offers a degree of value. I'm basically looking to take the favourite on at his price, really. That's where I am in the race.
He's won this race before, Chris Gordon.
Yeah.
You wonder, Richie, don't you, whether this is a race for horses that might swerve Cheltenham altogether. I think if Shall We Have One More wins, the owner will get his way. You know, he can't have Goshen at the festival, so this chap will run on the opening race. You're not convinced about him?
Well, there's just some doubts about it, I suppose, at the prices. Again, he's gone very short, as Pat was noting there, and I'm not sure he's a horse I'd be rushing to take a short price about. The form of the Constitution Hill form has yet to be kind of thoroughly franked, and that's slightly concerning. I know this guy went out and did it the last day, but he wasn't very impressive in the way, he jumped left quite badly, he made mistakes. Nothing really challenged him. And if you look at the form of the race, I think the 2nd, 3rd and 4th have run 12 times and won once over hurdles. I came down on Flare Darmas because I love the way he travelled, I love the way he jumped, I love the way he quickened. Again, he didn't beat much, but that's kind of the level we're at here. At about 7-1, I thought he was value. The one other thing to note here is Isio runs in this, if I'm pronouncing it right, Paul Nicholls' horse, which finished 4th to Pied Piper. And earlier on in the Adonis, we have a name that escapes me at the moment, the horse that finished 2nd to Pied Piper at Cheltenham, Mocha de Bassi. So they're 2 just to keep an eye on in relation to the Pied Piper form. You know, if they were to run well, or imagine if either of them were to win, you could see Pied Piper shortening even further.
Right, John, it's the Dovecote. Come on, succinctly, this is what you're good at. Who wins?
I think Shall We Have One More is still the one to beat, and I got so confused with the Gary Moore form that I'd suggested Porticello won by 20 lengths. Was, of course, Shall We Have One More, winning by 20 lengths at Sandown. Jumping to the left is a worry, though, at Kempton. So at a bit of a price, I think Russian Ruler is very interesting for Nicky Henderson. I know, rated very highly by the yard, and has shown enough promise. I think very lightly race could be that, as we said in that previous race, could be the one that's just got that extra bit of improvement in what looks to be fairly wide open, and I think the favourite's there to be taken on.
Oh, OK, Shall We Have One More? Are you with him? Are you with him in the week? You get the feeling this is going to be the pivotal one for the punters at Kempton. Right then, let's talk about the hottest topic in town this week. No, it wasn't the Cheltenham Festival handicap entries at all. It was early in the week. John, I want to come to you with this. You've done a piece for us. We've got Richie waiting in the wings as well. Sad news, really, about Oisin Murphy finally sitting in front of the BHA, and shock and horror all around the racing world and beyond at a 14-month ban.
Yeah, and I think you've got it right there when you say it's sad news, because this is a young man who's clearly made several mistakes in quick succession, slightly in self-sabotage more than anything, and it's always going to catch the eye when you see a 14-month ban. I think my view on it is twofold, and I think everyone's going to have a view, and there's a great deal of debate around this, as there should be for a 3-time champion jockey. But I think it's possible to hold the view that the ban is sufficiently severe. I think perhaps slightly too severe, but it had to be serious because of the nature of what he did. You know, misleading the regulator, breaching COVID at a time when racing was just trying to feel its way back. So it's important that the book was thrown, but at the same time, you can hold the view that we need to have a great deal of sympathy here for an incredibly talented rider who's got a great deal of weight on his shoulders from a personal perspective, let alone the pressure of title races and things like that. So I think now the dust has settled, it's a case of hopefully this year enables him to take a bit of time away from the sport, come back fresh and use that immense talent, because it would be a shame if it went to waste, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a big moment for young Kieran Fallon, of course. Qatar going to retain Oisin, quite rightly, I think. But the number 2 there, Kieran Fallon, young Kieran Fallon, now gets the chance to step in his dad's shoes and really have a crack at something, doesn't he, Bob, by being number 1. Richie, let's bring you in here. You've been observing, I imagine, all week on this, like the rest of us.
Yeah, and I'd echo a lot of what Jonathan says. Obviously, it's a pity. And Oisin is a tremendous young fella. The few dealings I've had with him over the past decade or so, I've found him, really decent and humble and, willing to help out and genuine is the word I'd use. But, he's had his issues, and this has been he's possibly been careering towards this. If you talk to the people around him, and over the years I would have spoken to people who would know him and been in his circle and so on. And it's a pity that it came to this. There was the incident at Chester last May when he failed the urine test, and that was a BHA test, and it didn't get dealt with for 7 months. And I wonder, why wasn't that kind of nipped in the bud at the time before we ended up then with the subsequent one in October. I wish they had been a bit stronger with him and, helped him to understand that there were going to be consequences for this kind of thing. As Jonathan alluded to, he's had a few serious misdemeanors now in quick succession: the cocaine ban, the alcohol positives, and the COVID breach. And we all remember, the situation in September 2020 when we were desperate to stay racing. There was a lot of things being shut down, and he completely flouted the rules and the spirit of it all when, at the time by not isolating it and by lying about his whereabouts. He's 26 years old. He's not a child. So he has to open his eyes at this stage and realise that he can't continue to, take risks like this and expect to get away with it. He is young, but he's not a child. He's not 17 or 18. He's been around the block. He's been around for a decade. There is a lot of pressure involved, and I can identify that with that myself when I was very young. And it's not easy to deal with the sort of pressure you're dealing with when you're in high intensity environment, and there's expectations there. But it's disappointing. I wish it hadn't come to this. I think they could have handled it stronger initially. Like that, you go back to the Chester one, that's the one I keep going back to. Why was that not dealt with much sooner? But then you mentioned Kieran Fallon. Look at his father. He came back from kind of similar disrepute. Lester Piggott came back from similar disrepute. Frankie Dettori has come back from it. Paul Carberry has come back from it. It's up to him now at this stage. He's going to spend a year on the sidelines. He needs to keep himself busy. He'll do that with his show jumping and whatnot. But he needs to come back, and he needs to stay away from the grog. It's as simple as that. If he's to make a long and successful career out of the talent that he has, and his talent is undoubted, he needs to stay away from the drink. Simple as. Yeah, and that has to come from him. That can't come from the BHA. That has to come from him. He has to want to do that.
Richie, let's just stay with you on this. You rode, of course, and in a time when, booze must have just been all around you, and probably everything else. You're in the yards, aren't you? You're with punters that want to buy you a drink. You're with maybe owners as well. It's all there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's there for you when you're going well, and it's there for you when you're not. And it's a crutch like that, and you use it to celebrate when things are going well. I remember distinctly, I didn't drink when I went to England for the first few years. I was 15 when I went to England. And I was afraid of my life because, I wanted to get it right. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't come from a racing background, but I wanted to be a jockey and I wanted to succeed at it. And I didn't drink for 3 or 4 years when I went over because I just did not want to muck up. And then, you fall into the loop and you end up having a few drinks. And I don't think it ever did me any good because, as I say, when things are going well, you end up drinking too much. And when things aren't going well, you end up drinking too much. So it's a difficult lifestyle because you spend a lot of time on your own. You're not part of a team. Obviously, Oisin is part of the Qatar team, but he doesn't have, he competes individually. So it is a difficult, lonely sport. And he needs to, I would suggest, stay away from the grog from now on. It has to be. Paul Carberry did it. We all know Paul was synonymous with a good time and having a few drinks. And in the end, he stopped because he realised he had to if he wanted to get the most out of what he had. So he needs to do that now. He needs to surround himself with the sort of people who will keep an eye out for him and be a good influence on him. And that'll be key to it. I mean, we can't wait to see him next year. Whether they will at some point maybe, look to try and come back earlier, it remains to be seen. They have said, I think, or they've more or less admitted they're not going to appeal. But, whether it's February next year or whether it's sooner than that, he needs to come back in a very stable place.
And let's hope that's the case, absolutely. Pat, he's been on this show, hasn't he? And when we had him last year, it was undoubtedly our most popular show away from the festivals of 2021. He spoke brilliantly. Yeah. He did my job for me a lot of the time. And he was the punter's pal. That August he had was sensational, wasn't it? So there's a massive hole all of a sudden. And I imagine that the jockey's title betting with 365 has got William Buick miles clear. And has there been much action on that? Where do we go with this now?
Well, it's very much up in the air, isn't it? Obviously, it's William Buick's title to lose, you would think, having been a runner-up in the last 2 years. But as for Oisin, I've met him several times. He's a very charismatic fella, great for the game. But he's been at it for almost 10 years, hasn't he? I remember when he rode 4 winners on the Ayr Gold Cup meeting as an apprentice. And everyone was very much aware of him then. He's been running around on that hamster wheel for 8, 9, 10 years now at the top. And maybe it's just the pertinent time for his life to suddenly stop as a jockey. As Richie says, he's got his show jumping interests. I hope his weight stays under control, but I'm sure he'll be on it. I just hope he gets the support mechanism around him. Yes, it's all down to him. Only he can control it all. He's young enough to bounce back. I hope he does. I wish him well.
Yeah, OK, so Oisin's ban is cast in stone then. But you've got the feeling some questions are still out there remaining. Let's go to Newcastle, shall we? No Brian Hughes, but we have got the marathon, the Eider Chase. This should be called the Eiger Chase, shouldn't it? You know what I mean? You must be looking like you're staring at the top of a mountain right at the start. Who's been the buzzer so far this week? Pat Cooney?
Well, as things stand at the moment, it's still sixth the field at the moment. The mover has been the Irish-trained horse, History of Fashion, which I'm hoping Richie will tell us a little bit more about, trained by P. Fahey. Richard Condon claiming 7. A fluent win last time out. I'm looking for inspiration on this horse because I don't really know much about him.
Let's throw it over then, shall we? Because I don't either, Richie. But if you look at the historical ticks, our excellent Kevin Morley and his 10-year trends, we get our email at the start of the week before we start throwing ourselves out there with tips and all that sort of stuff. He does hit the shortlist. Yeah,
he's unexposed. He's proven kind of as an up-and-coming stayer. But he's also 11 pounds higher. No, Richie Condon takes 7 pounds off his back. But to be honest, I prefer in these grueling races, I prefer something with a bit of experience and something that's been around the block a few times. So I see the money has come for him. And although he's, there's a profile there that you would be mildly interested in, he's probably getting short enough at this stage.
What was your record like in the marathon chases in the saddle, Richie?
No, I didn't ride in too many of them. I did ride in the Racing Post Chase. I know that's tomorrow. And it popped up on Twitter recently, which kind of made me smile. I was in the picture for a couple of seconds before Dr. Lunt blew us all away. But no, I didn't ride in either.
There are lots of people looking at their phones now going, what year? All right.
Don't ask me.
1999.
Is that right? My goodness gracious me, you're looking good for that, Richie, let me tell you. So I teased everyone that you'd napped in the Eider. Now, we've all had a run, we've all made a couple of errors. It's actually the Coral Trophy that you're going to nap in. We've heard from Christian Williams. Did he sway you with your selection one way or another?
Not particularly, no. I fell down on Gwynsley Burbass here. This is a horse that went from Eric McNamara over to David Pipes, and David has done well with him. Every time he runs over 3 miles or further, he tends to excel. And he disappointed the last day at Sandown, fair enough. But his previous run for David was at Exeter over 3 miles and 6. Now he's gone up to 4 miles 1 here, and I just think it'll suit him. As I say, I like a horse that's been around the block for these races. Then it's good to have a battle-hardened horse. He's in here off 130, having won off 124 at Exeter, and I don't think that mark is punitive at all. Fergus Gillard takes 3 pounds off, and off 10 stone 12, I think he's got a big chance.
There's some really interesting horses in here, and he is one. If you go back to your member section now and have a look at that replay, he hardly blows a candle out coming to last, that chap, and you're right. When you think about it being £6, forget the Sandown run. He's one I'm going to keep on my side as well. John?
It's a clear surf for me. The way in which he won the Classic Chase was just hugely impressive, wasn't it? I mean, he's gone up £10, but he could have a great deal more in hand than that. That almost, it's weird to say £10 seems lenient, but he won by, I mean, he probably could have gone round again, suggesting that he needed a trip. Okay, his jumping can be a little bit shaky in patches, which worries me. But he's got the experience, and I think looking beyond this, I think he could be a Grand National horse, whether this year or next.
Comply or Die, remember, took this out before taking the National as well. He's something that can show themselves to be ahead of the handicapper. I'm hoping that's Check It Out. I can see him ringed with you as well. Yeah. It's full seldom different. We're agreeing a bit too much. It's the Beecher third behind Snow Leopardess that I like about this chap.
Yes.
I know he won at Fontwell last time, but and lots of us backed him out there. It was a horrible watch until the last. He hated Fontwell. He responded all the way. I think he'll stay. Yeah. And it's that, like I say, it's that Beecher form that catches my eye.
Yeah, I'm stride for stride with you on the Beecher form. Good win last time out. First time cheek pieces as well. Jordan Naylor claiming 3. That £3 could be invaluable, just as it could Richard Condon claiming 7 on the Irish horse. You wouldn't be surprised if Check It Out was still there turning in, would you? It's just one of these, war of attrition races. It's going to be on good to soft for a change. Normally it's on heavy ground, and we're wondering, will there even be 3 finishers? There's an interesting one. Danilo Derry of Robert Beavers pulled up last time. He's a front runner in the race. Can you make all to win over 4 miles, 1.5? But
any staying chase at the moment, you want to be out front.
Well, that's it. We've touched on that's been the theme in recent weeks. Jump off, made all, don't see another horse. He's a runner. I think there's 17 runners, aren't there? I think you probably need 2 or 3 stabs at this. I just thought Check It Out. Would I be surprised if he was there 2 out? No, I wouldn't.
No, absolutely. All right. Let's hope we're not checking out come 4 miles. We'll be legless watching it. Good luck to the runners and riders. Who do you think is going to come out on top? Get your questions in below. 3:37. It is the feature race of the day. It is the Coral Trophy, formerly the Racing Post Chase. You ever go and bang on with Bruce Millington, our former editor? He says, this is the best bit of advertising I ever did.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's quite right, isn't it? Just give us the market then before we go nap time around the cards. I thought Ansam ticked every single box. I'll unashamedly get that out of the way. I think he probably just wins, but your favourite stat is worrying me.
Yeah, there's no winning favourite since 2008. No. Gungadoo, Paul Nicholls, Ruby Walsh. I think we all fancied him. Nakarat was still second favourite. He won a few years later. They are backable, these winners. It's not like there's 50 to 1 chances win. And Sam holds ahead of the market at the moment. Evan Williams, Adam Wedge. He's having a good time for Adam Wedge, isn't he? And Sam, he won well at Ascot last time out. He beat Phoenix Way handily. No reason why he shouldn't beat Phoenix Way on the form, but although he did win again last time out. Deep old race, of course. Christian mentioned Captain Ut. There's always money around for him. He's just one of those horses that people just latch on to. I think he's around about 7. That's short enough. Good Boy Bobby, the big breakaway. They're all in there. I ended up fancying one that I didn't think I'd ever fancy, Layla. Yeah. Form figures PP36. Talented horse, though, isn't he? This is his first run at 3 miles. And when he finished third that time, he was plugging on. And I just thought, Kempton, 3 miles. If he's going to get 3 miles anywhere, it'll be around Kempton. 149's not the rudest handicap mark. Bryony Frost, get it into him. Leap of faith. That's why he's 14 to 1, remember. Well, if he get the trip, though, then he'll be there as well. So
you've got a stable tour coming up there soon or something. This is proper currying favour, this, isn't it? All along the way. I mean, I can't see that one. That was gunpowder treason and plot stuff.
Can you not really?
There. No, I definitely can't. John?
I'll test this one. I'm with the big breakaway in this.
Oh, man. Just before we came on air, I said if the big breakaway goes and wins this, we'll all give up the game, won't we? Give us the reason why. Is it the Corto Star Novice Chase form that you're looking at?
It is indeed. I'm too predictable, I know. But look, Kempton's a track that does require a bit of course form. I think you can forgive a lot of the form of horses, these big chases with the Tizzards are sort of tied with the yard form. I think you can forgive a few of those runs. He's got the form in the book, albeit it's a little while ago, but as a result he's dropped down to a pretty decent mark, not a million miles off his last winning mark now in chases. And I just think, I didn't hate his comeback run at Newbury. I thought a handicap hurdle third's hardly a sort of inspiring form going into something like this, but you just think the yard's starting to kick into gear a little bit now, and he's got the talent. It's just if he puts it together.
He made Chantry House look quick at Sandown, you know. He's like, all right, I'm teasing John a little bit. Now, teasing the audience as well, Richie. Drum roll, please. What is the nap?
Yeah, I've napped our Power. Very sweet on him, to be honest. He's stepping up in class, granted, and he needs to improve. But I just thought he ticked an awful lot of boxes, if I can use that cliche. horse that was with Nigel Twiston Davies and is now with Sam Thomas. His last 3 figures from 4 runs are 1F1. He fell at the first at Doncaster in between, so draw a line through that. But on his 2 victories, the most recent one at Huntingdon, he beat a horse called Dorking Lad, who came out and won off a £2 higher mark at Huntingdon on Thursday, bolted up. Previous at Wincanton, he beat a horse called Jockamar, who came out next time and beat Mr. Coffee at Kempton off a £2 higher mark. So I'd say that's good form. This guy comes in here with 2 wins from his last 2 completed starts off a £2 higher mark, which I find, there's been a lot of talk about kind of lenient handicapping of some of the British horses by the British handicapper this year. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying there's a lot of talk about it. And you see this guy going up £2 for his latest win at Hunting, and you think, well, maybe there is something in it. He's stepping up in trip to 3 miles, which I think he needs. He looked like he needed a little bit further to me at Huntingdon. And he's a 7-year-old who has loads of scope to progress. He's in off 10-12. I think he's got a massive chance.
For Sam Thomas, who's making a habit of winning these target races, and he could risk at all at Ascot.
Yeah,
really impressive.
Charlie Deutsch looking between his legs before he's even turned in. He got some stick toys.
It's an interesting one of Richie there because he's got Charlie Deutsch is aboard, Sam Thomas. So
yeah, it's that firm, isn't it? Okay, just when you thought it was easy, like I did with Anne Sam, the panellists go and really muddy the waters in the Coral Trophy 337. Weekend winner time then. All right, we shall hear the crunching from Dublin on Richie Forristal's keyboard because we know that he's given us a map in the Coral Trophy. So, in fact, Richie, let's come to you. Give us something for Cheltenham. Which one on top?
My banker at the meeting is a Plutard. I think he is a highly progressive chaser still. His run last year was perfectly solid. I think he'd be a more mature horse this year, and we saw that at Haydock. When he absolutely pulverised a good field. And I know he was beaten then in the Savills at Christmas by Galvin. But, Rachel Blackmore is brilliant. Possibly if she had it over again, she might have held on to him a bit longer. But, she was kind of having to commit to keep Davy in. Then Davy came and swamped her. I'm not too worried about that. I think Henry's horses were a little bit in and out at the time as well. I just think he will go there, a much more mature horse. And I still think he's the one to keep on side in the race. I don't think Galvin will be quite good enough. I say that accepting he beat a Plutard at Leopardstown. I think it's going to be hard for Manella Indo to come back and win a second one. He ran well in the Irish Gold Cup behind Conflated. That was a big step in the right direction. But I just think a Plutard with the run last year under his belt, hopefully Henry's horse is backfiring, and there has been evidence in the last couple of weeks to suggest that they are back more consistent again. I think he's going to take a bit of whacking in the Gold Cup.
Oh, an exciting case made. Richie going for gold then. All right, an anti-post nap for you. Jonathan Harding, next to take the floor.
Yeah, I don't know if it's sacrilegious to put up a flat horse this close to Cheltenham, but I just can't look beyond Fancy Man in the Winter Derby.
At Lingfield, of course, which joins terrestrial ranks this weekend.
Yes, of course. And it's, look, Lord North's the best horse in the race, and if he runs like the best horse in the race, he wins by any amount of distance. But I just think he's got form with Alan Kerr as a 2-year-old, beat Alan Kerr as a 2-year-old. He's come on leaps and bounds this year, judging by his first start of the season, and I just think at 4-5 to 1, he's the backable one in the race, and I think he's got a better chance than that. All
right then, switching to Polytrack. Now, it's not often that I rely on you to bring it back down to earth and give them something at one of the feature meetings, but are you napping?
I am, and at Kempton in the 4:10, a good-looking handicap this race, but my eye's drawn to number 7, Herbier, silent S on the end. I normally struggle with these names, but Herbier is the nap, and rightly so. Yeah. Oliver Greenwell trains, Paddy Brennan aboard. He won by 8 lengths last time at Doncaster, won very, very well. It's gone up £7. And I thought, well, if I owned him, I'd be thinking, do you know, that could have been worse. That could easily have been worse. Doncaster, Kempton, one's left-handed, one's right-handed, but they are flat tracks. So he's got the form on the flat track. That was 2 miles 3 and a bit. This is 2 miles 5. He wasn't stopping. I think if you carried on the race, he'd have probably won by further. I thought he could easily gone up 10 for that win. So on that basis, Herbie, it is a competitive handicap. But I'm sure he'll go very well.
Could be a very big day for Paddy Brennan then at Kempton. I'm hoping it's a sizzling start for Kingy in the first station. Karjak looks like he's finding the right race, looks like he's coming good, finally eye-catching at Cheltenham last time. This is a lot easier. It's been backed in the week, but around about 7-2, still some juice in that. There are your weekend naps. Sadly, that is all we've got time for then on this week's What a Shout. It's been great to have our newbies with us alongside Pat Cooney, our stalwart. All about Cheltenham now, but sensing there might be some burnt fingers at Bet365 headquarters. Please, Lord, this weekend.
Well, yes, it's been busy anti-post during the week. A lot more busier than normal, so we're all gradually getting into that Cheltenham fever. And, of course, it's the Bet365 More Battle at Kelso next Saturday as well. Probably the final Cheltenham clues we're going to get, so the Cheltenham countdown is very much on.
So you'll be battling the storms and calling us from north of the border next week, will you?
All being well.
All right, great stuff. Jonathan Harding, great to have you with us. Thanks for giving us your talk about Oisin, but mainly your tips as well. Good luck with Fancy Man and everything beyond. Cheltenham coming up for you, but Fontwell and Kempton before that.
Yeah, absolutely. The sort of last chance saloon for some of these horses ahead of the festival, so it'll be good to be at Kempton on Saturday. Great
to have Jonathan on board. He'll be back, as will Richie Forristal. We hope you're coming over for the week then, Richie. You're not sure where you're sleeping yet. We were just laughing. Please, Lord, it's next to Paul Keeley. Please, Lord.
Yeah, no, looking forward to it. Last year was the first year I missed in a long time for obvious reasons. So looking forward to getting back. It's the highlight of every year. And, you know, there's some great racing in store from Honeysuckle, proper star in the Champion Hurdle. Gold Cup looks an absolute belter. You know, it's going to be great.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Richie. We'll have the guys back on again for you going forward. Thank you for watching out there. Don't forget, of course, to download the free Must Have Racing Boat app. You can do that on the Google Play Store or the App Store itself. Gamble responsibly, guys. That's what our MO here is at What a Shout and the Racing Post. Cheltenham is on the horizon. Loads of sport out there. So from myself, Dave Orton, enjoy.